My genius will be understood eventually.
Hey guys, Lock-In here. Today I wanted to talk about something that I think really holds people back from climbing and is really not talked about very often. And I'm going to be calling this the 1v9 effect, and I'm going to try to sum it up for you guys in as short amount of time as I can, and hopefully you guys picking up what I'm putting down. So, what exactly is the 1v9 effect? I'm going to describe the 1v9 effect as essentially the idea that no matter what, you always need to, quote, hard carry. So, something that I've seen a lot from players is the notion that if they don't carry a game, they're going to lose, and I think this really hurts a lot of players because the system is designed to keep you at about a 50% win rate. So one of the ways Riot tries to do this is just a rough estimate, but let's say, we've got 20 games here. 3 out of your 20 games, Riot will make you lose just by default. And then 3 of your 20 games, Riot will just make you win by default. The difference between a good player and a bad player is what happens in those other 14 games. However, players that consistently go for the 1v9 effect, essentially where no matter what, every single game they believe they need to hard carry, so that means they're constantly fighting in lane. They're always fighting. They're not really focusing on CS. They're just going super hard to carry. They have to carry every single game. What they're doing to themselves is they're shooting themselves in the foot. Because now those games that they should just automatically win, they risk not being able to win because of the fact that they might be feeding terribly. Also, in those other 14 games, the strategy is very high variance. In that if you don't get ahead early, the fact that you're always fighting is going to put you down so much in CS relative to other players that it's definitely going to hurt you. So here I am on my silver account here. And I think a good example of a game is this one. So I just got done playing this one a couple hours ago. And in this game, I had relatively solid farm for the most part until we started grouping mid. And Jin doesn't exactly out-farm his teammates that well. But I still had decent farm. I didn't have Kale's farm because she split pushed the whole game, but it's fine. And we were constantly taking fights and we were winning, but our Nocturne insisted on fighting over and over again, and he also insisted on building full damage because he was going to carry us. And at one point, we won a 5v5, we took Baron, we were pretty far ahead, and I was like, alright, let's just group mid, we're in a good spot here. But Nocturne was convinced that to win the game, he would need to hard carry, and he was going to do that through split pushing, and so he built a Phantom Dancer. Well, this item makes no sense on Nocturne. It's also interesting to me because he wanted to do it against a Kale, which would destroy him. I mean, Kale just pushes ult, and because you're all damaged, you die instantly. So this happened about 3 or 4 times. He was pretty upset with us. After about the 4th time, I, politely tried to say to him, hey, I don't think this is working out too well. Why don't we try grouping mid and just team fighting? If you can even just pick off their LeBlanc or something, we can probably win this game. But instead, he just told our whole team to go fuck themselves, and he went and did his own thing. And to no surprise, we did end up losing this game. But it was a game that we should have won. If we check the damage charts, I believe here, I'm thinking I almost outdamaged their Kale, if I'm not crazy here. Yeah, I had 39.8k damage, and their Kale had 40.2. So, by the time this was all done, I had almost successfully outdamaged their Kale, and we probably would have won the game in a straight-up 5v5, as we hadn't lost one yet. We were playing relatively well. Their LeBlanc wasn't very good. But in the end, what happened was, because of the fact that this Nocturne wanted to 1v9, he was uncarryable, and this is the heart of the problem. The 1v9 effect does 2 things, and it's a very polarizing effect. You will either carry the game, or you will be uncarryable. And that's not to say that the 1v9 effect can't be useful. I mean, I think probably the best case that I can even think of for this 1v9 effect is Shinshin. Shinshin, when he gets ahead, will destroy you, and if he wins lane, like I said, he destroys you. He plays Olaf and Darius and Jax, people that if they get ahead, you can't really lane against. And what he does is he abuses these champions and their strengths once he gets ahead, and he takes over the game. However, he costs himself just as many games because he doesn't have a full understanding of the game, so he compensates by trying to hard carry. And this is fine to climb if you're consistently able to do so. However, hard carrying makes you vulnerable to also being unable to carry, or being uncarryable is a better way to phrase it. And this uncarryable quality makes players less likely to climb, because now the games that you should automatically be winning are coin tosses on whether or not you win lane, and the other 14 games are just coin tosses as well on how well you play or how well your opponent plays. Because if your opponent never fights you and just tries to back up seed CS where they can, and they play it well, your opponent will just they'll be fine, and your full damage Nocturne build will fall off. So sometimes you can be uncarryable by trying to hard carry, and I think that just purely through math we can determine that if you play safe and passive and just look to play well, statistically more than not, you should be winning at least 8 of your 14 games that matter. You'll win your 3, you'll lose your 3, so you'll be at a 3-3. However, that will net you LP as long as you're not losing more than you're winning, which most players are not. Because most players are... The system is set that if you play enough, you can climb, so most players do gain at least 1 or 2 LP for a win. So now what you're doing is if you can win at least 8 of that 14, you're still climbing. And that's only playing safe and looking to farm and not taking risks. Which, in my opinion, is a very good way to climb, and you can use numbers, just purely numbers, to back up this claim. So that's kind of what I was coming from on this with the 1v9 effect. And I'm going to probably see someone say, so you're just making this video because you're salty. Well, not exactly. The 1v9 effect was something that I had discussed for a long time, and when I saw this game happen, I was like, you know, this is perfect. This is the perfect example of the 1v9 effect, and I really wanted to just share with you guys and give you my insight on it, and hope that maybe going into your ranked games you considered a little bit that sometimes it's okay to not carry, that your teammates probably are roughly as good as you are because of where they're at, and even if they're not as good as you are, they probably don't completely suck, and you can probably rely on them at least a little bit, and at the very least you can at least use them as meat shields. I mean, that's still better than being 0-4. So that's just my thought on that, and my thought on just using numbers to try to prove why you can climb even without the ability. And just to wrap this up real quick, I'll just take this here real quick, and we'll just break down really quick like what I'm saying. So you're going to win 3 of your games, lose 3, and then it's this middle 14. So let's say you gain 20 LP for every win. So this is a net gain of 60 LP. This, let's say you lose 17. This is a 51. So you're already getting a net of 9. So let's say you win 8 of your 14. So let's do that. Put a little 8 there. If you win 8 of your 14 and you're getting 20 per win, you're gaining 160. And you're losing 17 times 6. You're losing 102. You're still going to gain 58 LP. From that, 9 from that, and look at that, 67 LP gained out of your 20. You're still 2/3 of the way to the next tier just off those 20 games. And that's just my opinion on why you should play safe and not be a victim of the 1v9 effect, but instead just play to the numbers in Riot's matchmaking system on a whole. And as long as you're consistently playing well and not feeding, it's very likely that your opponents will outplay themselves, meaning that you can actually win more than 8 just by playing smart and well without having to force anything. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I'll be back with another one here in a couple days on some more solo queue theory for climbing and abusing Riot's system. But in the meantime, I just wanted to put this out here so you guys can see it and let you know that I haven't died completely. So I'll see you guys in my next video.